The Xbox is everything The Rock is. Cutting edge, powerful, exhilarating, and like The Rock, it will be the most electrifying thing coming out this year.
Yeah, sadly it wasn't. But hey, welcome to Griffo's Retro Gaming with me, Alex Griffo Griffiths. And today I'm going to be talking about 10 great Xbox games that you must try. Now I'm just going to lay some ground rules down. The first one is that all these games are going to be exclusive to the Xbox. Now, I do understand that most of them were released on the PC as well, but when I say exclusive to the Xbox, I mean to the Xbox only in console form. And the second thing I need to mention is that these games are just great games. They're not in any order of how good they are, and I'm planning to be doing a second video very soon on some more great Xbox games. So if there's a game that isn't on this list that you really love, the chances are that it's going to be on the second one. And finally, I'm only going to be putting one game per series on here. But for now, enjoy, and let's have a look at some great games for this vastly underrated system. Crimson Sky's High Road to Revenge is set in an alternate 1930s world. The game focuses on the exploits of Nathan Zachary, a ladies' man who is also the leader of the Fortune Hunters Air Pirate Gang. You control an aircraft from a third-person perspective, and the game is more or less in between a flight simulator and an arcade game, featuring some really high-paced action, which spans across 20 levels, and also you have 12 aircraft, which are fully upgradable. You can get different weapons and different sort of armour, things like that really. It's just all out, fast-paced fun. The game was also multiplayer, offering a split screen for 2 people, or you could also play with up to 4 people on local co-op. It was also available to play on Xbox Live, featuring different game modes such as a dogfight, a flag heist, a keep away mode, and a wild chicken mode. When playing online, you had an online ranking, which was obviously determined by your win-loss record. A definite game you must try, even if you don't like these sort of games. It is just all-out, fast-paced fun, and that's what a game should be. It is a true gem. Using the same engine as the Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance games and Bard's Tale, Dungeons & Dragons Heroes is another hack and slash with RPG elements. The game allows you to pick from one of 4 different characters, them being a human fighter, an elf wizard, a dwarven cleric, or a halfling rogue. And each of these heroes have a unique ancestral weapon, which lost its power when Gaiden, who is the ultimate bad guy, placed a curse upon it. Throughout the game you can collect soul shards and upgrade your weapon's power. All the heroes have unique abilities as you'd expect, and you can level them up during the game. The menu and inventory screen are very easy and simple to look through and get to grips with, which is a really big draw because with it being a Dungeons & Dragons game that uses the new, or at the time, new 3.0 rule set, it can be rather daunting, and that's the beauty of this game. It simplifies things nicely enough for new players of both the hack and slash and Dungeons & Dragons sort of genres to get into this game. It's never complicated, and it shows you nice and easily which weapon is best, and it's also really easy to execute any of your special moves. It is graphically pleasing, but it's sometimes quite hard to see your character on the screen, especially if you're overrun by enemies or you're in a dark passage or something like that. It's sometimes hard to see, but otherwise it is a really nice looking game. The game features secret areas, which is really good fun trying to find. Basically, you smash a wall down and you find a room with a load of treasure or money in there. The cutscenes are alright as well, but whilst they are a bit cheesy, the voice acting is rather good, to be fair. And one thing that it doesn't suffer from is repetitive noises. The sound effects from the dungeon floor, the water dripping down, the clang of swords against each other, they're all done fantastically well, and everything just seems to come together to make a really pleasing, somewhat average, but a really pleasing game nonetheless. And if you're a big fan of the Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance games, this is a definite. If you're a hack and slash fan, it's also a definite. So if you can find it, pick it up. Set in the futuristic 1950s, you play as Edward Stubbs Stubblefield, who was a travelling salesman before his death. He was in love with a girl named Maggie until he was murdered by her father. Years later, Maggie's son, not Stubbs's, is a playboy billionaire who has created a new city called Punch Bowl, and it's the grand opening. Everything is going well until the zombie of Stubbs rises to cause havoc. Whilst the game isn't the most impressive graphically, it does over-deliver in the fun factor. Your aim is to get through each level, but everyone you kill turns into a zombie. Thus, you're building an army of undead to help you on your way. You can attack by swinging your arms, biting into people's heads. You can even use flatulence. Yeah, that is farting. You can even use your decomposing organs as a bomb, or even detaching your hand and using it in a way to mind control your enemy to attack others. Strangely, however, Stubbs cannot use any weapons, but he can drive a car. Yeah, wear that one out. Don't let that take away anything from the game though, because later on you partake in dance-offs to 1950s songs such as Sandman and Lollipop done by modern artists. Sadly, this is Stubbs' only game, and it was released later into the Xbox life, so it passed many people by. I recommend this game, but it commands a high price, usually around the £40 mark, but it's still better than most new releases which cost about the same. It's a definite for any Xbox collection. Far Cry Instincts is a first-person shooter game, and is a remake of the original PC version of Far Cry. Instincts though is less open-ended and more linear due to the console not being as powerful as a PC. It has reduced processing power which prevents the full rendering of the Windows version's huge islands and landscapes. In the game you play as Jack Carver, a former serviceman of the US Navy who is dishonourably discharged following a number of illegal actions. He soon settles in Manhattan and begins supplying illegal arms to anyone with coin really. Eventually a price is put on his head by the Mafia, and he was forced to flee the USA until he settled in Micronesia. Far Cry is a first-person shooter that incorporates many aspects such as shooting, stealth, driving, and exploration which all work fantastically well. What really sets this game apart from all the other shooters on the Xbox, and indeed any of the consoles at the time, is its beautiful graphics. Whilst playing, you'd be forgiven for thinking that you were playing on the Xbox 360. Well, not quite as good, but still mightily impressive. The sound is also immersive, being filled with singing birds and rustling leaves which you need to be careful of, because making a noise can be the difference between life and death. Unfortunately my disc was scratched, so I struggled to get any sort of gameplay footage, but it's a really cheap game and I will definitely not hesitate in buying it, and nor should you. Thief is another stealthy first and third person action game, and the third in the Thief series. You take on the role of a master thief named Garrett, and it is set in a fantasy world that looks straight out of the Victorian era. Mission levels are made up from stealth, requiring you to sneak in the shadows, since walking or running will alert nearby guards. In order to make minimum noise, the player must actively monitor the noise each action creates. Upon completion of all the objectives, the mission ends, and the plot is further revealed through cutscenes. Due to limited memory, city and mission levels are divided into parts, connected by load zones, unlike the PC version, which is quite open-ended and not as restrictive. That doesn't take anything away from the game, however, which is just superb. As well as sneaking in the shadows, you can pickpocket, mug people, and pick locks that is in a mini-game style, much like in the Elder Scrolls games. Thief has received a reboot in the form of simply Thief in 2014, which is pretty good to be fair, but the original experience back in the mid-2000s just blew your mind. It was fantastic. The graphics are stunning, the depth of gameplay options keeps the game interesting, and it has a solid story. Give it a go, you won't be disappointed. The Chronicles of Riddick: Escape from Butcher Bay is a first-person action stealth game that is actually a prequel to the film, The Chronicles of Riddick. Vin Diesel was actually involved in the development of the game as well, and obviously takes on the role as the protagonist, Richard Riddick. The game takes place inside Butcher Bay, a maximum security prison from which no prisoner has ever escaped. Think a futuristic Alcatraz. It is played primarily from a first-person view, though the camera switches to a third-person perspective during certain scenes. Every aspect of the game is implemented so well, from the setting, which for the time looks so gritty and dark, adding the atmosphere to the game that it commands. Each time you play, you are Riddick, and the sense of urgency and alarm is just so engaging. To add to the whole experience, whilst in stealth mode, you were able to quick kill enemies, which comes as no great surprise to be honest. But you can kill enemies from jumping from a ledge as well as from behind. Furthermore, you can then drag the dead body out of sight to hide them from patrolling enemies. A DNA scanning security system initially prevents Riddick from using firearms, which adds a whole different dimension to the game. Instead, you attack with your bare hands, or with improvised weapons such as shivs or clubs. Escape from Butcher Bay released to critical acclaim, with many critics praising both the visuals and audio, in particular the voice acting. The game went on to win Unsung Hero Game of the Year at the Golden Joystick Awards of 2004. This is high praise indeed for a movie tie-in game that traditionally they're not so great. It is an absolute must for the system, and you can pick it up for as little as £1.
The dragon sword is gripped firmly in the hands of young ninja Ryu Hayabusa.
Ninja Gaiden is one of, if not the best looking game on the Xbox, but it also plays flawlessly too. You play as Ryu Hayabusa, whose clan has been massacred by the evil Vigua Empire. You set off on your journey of retribution and revenge, blurring the lines of what is good and evil. Ninja Gaiden is an action-adventure game viewed from the third-person over-the-shoulder perspective. In typical fashion, you start the game with basic, low-level abilities and weapons that can be upgraded as you progress. The look and feel of the action is outstanding. It is so smooth and easy to get to grips with, while still offering plenty of difficulty to really enhance your gaming experience. In combat, you can pull off an extensive variety of combat moves, and it allows you to perform them intuitively so that the results are incredibly satisfying when you chain a big combo together. Ninja Gaiden boasts some beautiful scenery, which looks very much like a Japanese landscape, without being too corny or stereotypical. Combine that with great looking character designs, battle animations, and the in-game audio and ambient sounds, and you have a game that is so near perfection on the system. Even if you are a fan of these types of games, Ninja Gaiden will certainly win you round. Oh, Fable, where to start? Originally it was in development for the Dreamcast. Fable was moved to the Xbox due to the Dreamcast demise, unfortunately. It was developed by Lionhead Studios and spearheaded by the vastly unpopular Peter Molyneux, who aggressively promoted Fable and is even quoted as saying, "It's gonna be the best game ever." Needless to say that it isn't, and the whole hype for the game was its biggest downfall, as it overpromised and underdelivered. However, it is still a fantastic and extremely enjoyable game. Fable is a third-person RPG where you, the main character, is known as the hero of Oakvale. The game is quite simple, yet complex at the same time, so let me explain. So you can interact with people and objects, battle foes, complete quests and buy new equipment, all pretty standard stuff for an RPG, I know. But Fable, unlike others, puts massive emphasis on your fame and alignment. Yes, other RPGs do implement fame and infamy, but on most games, being infamous or evil pretty much ends the game. In Fable though, it is encouraged. You can improve your appearance to become more attractive, you can gain weight by eating too much, and believe it or not, if you eat live chicks for example, it is deemed evil, but eating tofu is good. Fable is your game ultimately, and it is your world for you to shape your destiny in. It may look a little rough around the edges, but it is a whole lot of fun, and once you start playing, you will be hooked. The game Halo is just synonymous with Xbox. It defines it. Master Chief is the mascot, although it wasn't initially planned that way. There is over 10 games across 3 generations of consoles. Windows voice activation is called Cortana, after a character off Halo, and there is plenty of merchandise and novels. Halo is huge, and it all started with this game, which amazed me when I first tried it on a demo console. If for some reason you do not know about Halo, let me explain. It's a futuristic first-person shooter set in the 26th century. The game starts off as a tutorial, which is executed perfectly, and at no point do you feel like it's a pointless exercise. It's really easy to get to grips with, and soon enough you feel confident enough to be taking on the alien or Covenant horde. Halo is a game I just cannot do justice. It burst onto the scene and became the blueprint for every first-person shooter that has followed. New games are always compared to Halo, and are described as either Halo clones or Halo killers, though very few compare. One other important aspect is the soundtrack. It just fits the game and the atmosphere wonderfully to create one of the best first-person shooters ever. According to Xbox.com, Halo received a total of 48 awards and attained a 97% on Metacritic. And guess what? It is only £1 to buy. Get on it, guys. This still blows my mind today, but somehow Bethesda amazingly managed to release their epic role-playing masterpiece, The Elder Scrolls 3: Morrowind, on the Xbox. When I played it for the first time, I immediately found myself falling head over heels for the game. I actually spent more hours than I cared to admit, immersed in the expansive world of Morrowind. That was on the PC, however. So, how does the Xbox version measure up? Well, simply put, it's amazing. Yeah, it has been watered down from the PC version, but the magic, immersion and lore is all present in the game, and it runs and plays smoothly enough to not impact or hinder your overall experience. You awake aboard a slave ship that has just landed on the island of Vardenfell. The slave traders inform you that they have been ordered to set you free, and you are to register yourself. This is just a cleverly disguised create a character mode, basically. You then receive your release papers and you are free to play the game how you please. taking on missions, joining factions, plundering dungeons, and shaping your character. That's the beauty of Morrowind. The way the game unfolds is based entirely on your decisions, and you are never pushed in one direction or the other. Currently at £8 for a standard game, or £25 for the Game of the Year edition, which includes 2 expansions, to an already huge game is just incredible value for money. So that's just 10 games to get you started on the Xbox, and I will be back with another 10 awesome titles for you to put on your wish list. But for now, I want to thank you for watching, and if you like this video then please hit the subscribe button to see more content and to be alerted when I release a new video. So thank you again, and I'll be back very soon.